bienvenidos to Pica Poco Kitchen. Today we're making rebanadas, or slices. Vámonos! At the end of last year, there was a situation about Mexican bread all over the internet. A British baker, Richard Hart, or as I lovingly call him, Dick Hart, decided to take advantage of the sadly growing gentrification of Mexico City and open a bakery. People were excited. They went and lined for hours. They paid for the expensive bread and honestly welcomed him in. Because if we are something, we'll embrace you. Only to find out a couple weeks later that he went on a podcast and talked about how Mexico lacked bread culture and how our beloved bolillo was nothing but an ugly industrial bread. And let me tell you something, Mexicans weren't happy about it. Because you can talk about us as individuals and we'll take it. Just don't mess with our loved ones. Don't mess with our friends. Don't mess with our culture. And do not mess with our food. So people went up in arms. He ended up apologizing in the end and we all moved on. The thing is, Mexico has a bread culture. It might not be fancy, but it is vast and it is interesting. So much so that in the 1900s, a lot of the Chinese immigrants loved our bread and they adopted the Mexican bakery that they even took it back to their homeland, creating this kinship relationship between both nations, where they have some breads that are cousins to ours and we have some breads that are cousins to theirs. Bread is embedded in our daily life that we forget about it, we don't talk about it, and in fact we sometimes give it for granted. And it happened to me when I moved here to the US, that I couldn't figure out what was that I was missing. Every time I craved something for a light supper or something next to my coffee in the morning, until it hit me, of course, it was bread. And unless I make it, I don't have accessibility to it at the reach of the hand. So that's what I have for you today. A sweet treat that is unpretentious. Rebanadas, or slices, are nothing but that. A slice of brioche bread with a butter icing. Something simple that will make your day just a little bit happier. Let's get to it. Like always, we'll start by making a sponge. For that I'm using half a cup of warm milk and 7 grams of yeast. I warm my milk in the microwave just for a little bit. I'm gonna grab 1 tablespoon of sugar from my total of sugar, which I'll tell you later, and mix that well. From my total flour, I'm also gonna grab 2 tablespoons of flour. I'm gonna set that aside and let the yeast activate. Let's talk about flour and temperature. Since it's cold out, my house has been running with heat. So I am going to take that in account when it comes to the amount of flour that I will be using. Since my kitchen is warm, the flour may absorb the moisture more. So to have control over that, I will be adding my flour gradually. I can tell you that in the end, I use 3 cups and a half. After making a well, I'm gonna add a 1/4 cup of sugar and my activated milk and yeast right in the middle. And to make this enriched dough, I'm also gonna add 2 beaten eggs. Now we're gonna start to mix. And here's when you start developing the feel of the dough. Hold back some of the flour and add it gradually as you see fit. In a warm room, you may add the whole amount given to you in the recipe. In a cold room, you might need less. The end goal is a soft and tacky dough, but not sticky, so we can move on and start kneading it. When our dough reaches an even color and consistency, we're ready to start adding the butter. I'll bring back the bowl to do that to control the mess. We're gonna add 4 tablespoons of butter, 1 tablespoon at a time. After the butter is incorporated, your dough might seem messy, but don't worry because that's why we're gonna smack it in the table, aka start with the foldings. The foldings will help build strength and structure, but also will keep your dough from reaching a higher temperature, especially because we're using our hands and there is butter involved. Foldings will help achieve a tender and airy texture in your bread. So keep at it, be patient, and remember you can always take breaks, cover your dough, wash your hands, and come back a few minutes later. This time I only gave my dough a 10-minute break. I went washed my hands and my bowl and came back to it, worked it a little more until I achieved a nice and soft texture. So with oily hands and an oily bowl, we're gonna let this dough rest and rise until it doubles in size, like this. Now we're gonna punch the air out and transfer it into our table. Flatten your dough in the shape of a rectangle, swiftly flip it over, start rolling it from the top end all the way down, making this chunky little log. Carefully transfer it to a lined baking sheet, cover it, and let it sit for a second rise that may take half an hour or 45 minutes. While we wait, let's make the butter frosting. You're gonna need 1 butter stick, room temp, 1 cup of powdered sugar, a pinch of salt, and a teeny splash of vanilla. We're gonna beat that up, and just for funsies, we're gonna split it in half. This right here is the traditional frosting, but just to make things differently, to the other half, I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of cocoa powder. We'll beat that up too and set our frostings aside. Here's our bread nice and chubby and our oven is preheated at 350 Fahrenheit. Before getting it in, we're gonna give it an egg wash. We're gonna bake between 25 to 30 minutes until, like the K-pop demon hunters, is beautiful and golden. Let it cool for 20 minutes before you proceed to actually make the slices. I start by cutting it in half, cutting the ends, and proceeded to cut thick slices of around 1.5 inches. Add a generous amount of your butter frosting and have extra sugar for dunking. The layer of sugar will protect the frosting from creating a nasty skin and drying out. Do the same with the chocolate ones, and there you go. Don't forget about the ends because those are a snack only for you. And here you have them, the classic and chocolate. And you can say, well, you could just grab a slice of box bread and spread some butter in it, sprinkle sugar, and there you go. But that's the amazing thing about Mexican bread culture, that it will take me less time to put on my chanclas, go outside my house, get to the baker's car, grab a piece of these, come back and eat it, then make it myself. And it's less mess. And it was probably bread that was freshly baked that morning. That's the wonder about these things. The thing is, we have it here. Let's give it a try. It is spongy and delicious. I like to keep a thick slice so it balances well with the sweetness of the butter. I love the crust. It turned out beautiful. And I don't think I've had this particular piece in probably decades. But as soon as I bit on it, I was transported back in time. It tastes exactly like I remember. Delicious. And in case you're wondering about bolillo,
I have a video on that, so please go check it out, make it, and make your own judgment how terrible that bread is. But that's enough bread beef for today. I hope you enjoyed this recipe just like this video. And if you did, please share it with your friends. Like, subscribe, and be notified. And for more, follow me on the socials. Adios, amigues.